Welcome to your facility. This is the Braemar Wastewater Pump Station. And this meeting here is for the Braemar Rehabilitation Project to rehabilitate this facility. My name is Phil Maldonado. I'm a supervising engineer with the city, and I'm helping to manage the design of this work. Over here to my left is Han Kang. He's with Carollo Engineers. He's the project manager for the design team. Next to him, Carson Wollert. He's supervising engineer, and he will be taking this project through construction. So you probably see a lot of him when we're actually out here doing the work. Right up here is our wastewater staff. Chito, I'm sorry, last name?
Senior technician.
Senior technician, absolutely. And Joaquin Ortega, acting supervisor. Right? These are the guys who keep the system going. You've probably seen or met them at one point. Over here is Erica Madrigal. She's with our transportation engineering division, and she can help answer any questions you may have about the transportation impacts. Right over here is Josh. We will be filming this for the information to keep this information available for anyone who's obviously not present. So thank you all for coming. Just a couple of things. Let's see. The purpose of the project. As I've told many of you, is to rehabilitate, remove, and replace the internal components of this entire facility. The goal is the continued reliable and uninterrupted service of the facility. Just to give you a little bit of history, the facility itself was constructed in the 1960s. It was rehabilitated in the 1990s. And we actually had a project in 2016 to put a second outlet pipe into the facility going up Cliff Drive. So many of you may have experienced that a couple of years ago. But we are coming up on that 30-year time horizon where the facility needs to be rehabilitated again. The benefits of the project are primarily the continued efficient removal of wastewater from the neighborhood down, get it up the hill over Cliff Drive and get it down to El Estero. Another benefit, of course, is protecting the surrounding environment. This facility is the largest facility of its kind in the city, and it captures quite a bit of wastewater flow from the city in order to transfer it down for treatment. The three major project elements that we're looking to institute are rehabilitation of the receiving basin. So the way the facility itself is set up, the receiving basin is actually right out here underneath the sidewalk. That's where flows come in and are captured. So we're going to rehabilitate that. The replacement of the pumps and electrical equipment, everything that you see inside there, that's all the electrical equipment, and that controls the pumps. You're leaning against the wall right there. You might feel the vibration of the pumps going on and off. The replacement of the outlet piping. So the frontage of the building along Cliff Drive, that frontage will be demolished in order to replace the piping that connects to the pipelines that run up Cliff Drive. So all of that will be removed and replaced. But that coincides, those elements coincide with how the project will actually be implemented in construction. So in construction, we actually anticipate a 3-month period of construction, as many of you have seen on your notices, 3 months in the summertime between spring, fall, and winter of 2019. The impacts to the traffic lanes out here will be the primary thing that you notice, which will be barriers being installed right along the frontage of the station, along Allen Road and along Cliff Drive. This frontage here will be closed to pedestrian traffic, so just something to keep in mind. And there will be a temporary installation of a 3-way stop right at this corner. So the 3 phases of the construction will coincide with those 3 elements. So during the work for the receiving basin, there will be temporary pumping systems installed in order to continue the flow of wastewater around that receiving basin and into the system going up the hill. During the pump replacements, We will be able to move that temporary pumping system in order to pull directly from the receiving basin and continue the work of the station. And then during the piping work, there'll be a third phase which reconfigures the pumping system, the bypass pumping system, and connects it around the piping structure in the front of the building along Cliff Drive. So that is kind of why the extended period of work will be set out and how the project will actually be implemented. And our hope is that, this inconvenience is fairly minor compared to the overall benefit that we get from having the station. So, but part of that is addressing your concerns, whatever concerns that you might have. So you as the neighbors, this is one of the reasons we're here, is really to kind of go through any questions you may have. One of the first questions that I have that may be along those lines are what concerns any of you have for the street diversions. I think someone mentioned earlier about the amount of parking and traffic that we have during the summer here, and how that will be managed during this construction period. Is that one of the only concerns, or is there another concern along with that? Was that the smell? The smell. Actually, the installation of the new pumps will be run. They'll be operated in a slightly different way in order to keep flows moving more continuously through the facility, which we hope will help mitigate any of those odors from building up in this system right here in particular. So that is something that we are concerned with. We have heard that concern from you guys. As far as the traffic is concerned, the reason we are installing the additional stop signs is to manage the traffic flow, especially with the diminished sight lines that will occur with the barriers that will be installed. And so we will be maintaining 2 lanes of traffic, and we will be maintaining both lanes of traffic out on Cliff Drive. We want to slow traffic down a little bit. We're not. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there going to be a stop sign in the middle out there, so left and right?
Yes, Cliff Drive will have stop signs. So there'll be a stop. The stop sign exists right here on Allen Road, but there will be stop signs on Cliff Drive as well. Quite possible. It is possible, and it is something that we will monitor. And a lot of it is, possibly working that into the construction schedule, in the sense that, if those signs need to be adjusted during different times, because often, a lot of that traffic is time dependent, and so we can make those adjustments. Yes.
The barriers will be up all the time.
Yes. Yeah, the barriers will be up all the time because, like I said, the temporary pumping systems will be taking the place of this system, and there needs to be space in order to have those on site. Along those lines, do any of you have ideas how we can make the construction easier for you in the neighborhood? Any thoughts or ideas? Not do it in the summer. I heard that one. They are the busy months, but we are kind of bound by the fact that they are also the times of lowest flow through the system. And so I think one of the concerns was overflows and managing that. And part of that is doing this work in the summer when there's a much lower probability of having an overflow. So it's something that I think this is why we're here, is to get this feedback, and I think we're already getting a few comments that we can incorporate into the work. Does anyone have any special needs that you can think of during construction? One of the elements of the traffic, this poster over here shows the configuration of traffic. The only thing that would be limited by putting barriers out here would be an 18-wheel truck. The only thing I could think of would be if someone was moving. So if you or one of your neighbors, might be considering moving during summer of 2019, that will be something that we'll have to coordinate. It's not impossible. We can get a large moving truck up into the neighborhood, but it will be something that'll have to be coordinated with construction. Fire trucks have no access issue. That's the top line there, the fire truck approach, and the approach is not hindered from either direction.
But at that point, that royal road, the space will be at a different point when you finish with the truck loads.
That one,
So, yeah, so that project's they're supposed to be done with the construction that's taking place now sometime in October-ish, because the goal is to have all that done and get everything planted before the rains come in. So it should be pretty
Right.
much finished by the time this comes around.
right. And other than that, any of you have any specific questions about the facility itself? I know we've already been talking, but anything else you can think of, or? Yes, sir.
Will it be a bottleneck here for those 3 months, or will the trucks, periodically open this up, or is it always, like I say, is it going to be a permanent, bottleneck during that time period?
There will be a permanent bottleneck because it will be barriers placed out into the street. And it'll actually be congested periodically by deliveries of the actual equipment and removal of the equipment from the facility. So removal of the existing equipment will have to be trucked out, and there'll be periods when trucks will have to come here and pick that up. And there'll be periods when trucks will be dropping off the equipment needed to rehabilitate or replace the components. Yes, the bottleneck will be here, and it'll actually be a little bit more congested because of the construction traffic.
Would that be at all a problem for any kind of evacuation needs in the event that there's a fire and we have to evacuate the community? Is there a way to get those things out of the way to help facilitate the evacuation? This is the only way in and out.
Right. That's actually a great question. I'll have to get back to you on that. We hadn't considered it, although except to say that maintaining 2 lanes of traffic, enough width for 2 lanes would anticipate being enough, to continue to facilitate an evacuation. But I will look into that a little bit more. Han, you make a note of that? Thank you. Yes.
Those times when you have deliveries and it's really congested, would there be a way of notifying us ahead of time that for these 2 hours, how I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that actually reminds me, I apologize, I forgot to mention at the beginning. I saw that you already signed in. If you would like to receive notifications or updates like that, please sign in. Please take my card. And what we'll do is during construction, because like I said, Carson will be taking this in construction, he will be receiving those schedules from the contractor, and we'll be able to update you on major delivery times. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. Okay? Yes?
Maybe I missed it, but are you going to then block off all parking on this side?
No, that parking will remain.
Will?
Yeah, yes, that parking will remain. And actually, for extended periods of time, the city refrains from doing that. It actually becomes it's something that we'd have to go through a little bit more in order to take away parking like that for an extended period of time. And so part of the traffic plan that we envision utilizing accounts for that parking being there and only taking up so much space on this side that still allows the traffic to move through with that parking there. And it narrows the lanes, I believe, to 11 feet. So still 2 lanes at 11 feet.
Parking on that side with 11 feet?
Yes. Yeah.
Should we get tight? Yeah.
I think that the open spot that having 2-lane traffic with commercial spaces that it's going to leave 1 lane and 2 and 3 that will protect the equipment to the curb. So I think once we have to look at how much parking will preserve. Certainly where the truck is, we should be able to allow parking on that spot.
I'm just thinking, I know when we, when you make a right turn, when you have to do a hard 90-degree angle,
Right.
and not turn to the other lane, because if there's backup traffic here,
Mhm.
then you have to turn and really tight.
Yeah.
Especially if you have something larger than a Prius.
Yep. Like I do.
It is going to be a
Absolutely.
stop, so everyone will stop.
We'll have to come to a complete stop. Yeah.
Go down.
But if there's
It needs to
traffic
be-
here, backed
Yep.
up,
Yeah.
and then I need to turn right.
Actually, I think
go
yeah.
into their space.
Something that you're getting at may be temporary marking, lining, demarcation of the lanes, so that we don't have traffic,
I mean, I would be,
veering
I
into.
would be kind of open to not having parking right,
Right.
maybe after
Let
that
the drivers
traffic.
be right on the curb.
Mhm.
Cars will drive push our way through.
Yeah.
So we're not
Right.
pushing up that parking.
Right, because I suspect, because they're already, is when we, in the morning,
Mhm.
it's hard to take a left when there's a lot of traffic coming this way, because you can't, there's about 3 cars or so quick here.
Right.
There's not going to be that give when we turn right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There will be a three-way stop there. So,
Okay,
so
that
Cliff
helps.
is going to be stopping both directions. So
Okay, that-
it might slow it down left and right here. And
Yeah.
then, you can take a turn for the traditional three-way stop.
But I think what you're getting at too, helping people with the adjusted traffic pattern, right? By kind of demarcating it a little bit better and
that'd be
possibly
helpful.
taking away some of the parking. I'll look into the ability to kind of absorb some of that.
I think
Yeah.
that-
Better, because what happens is
Right.
people pull into our driveway and then pull back out, which then stops people from going
Yes.
out the street.
Yes.
Which causes another huge traffic jam.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, yours is so is mine. My mailbox gets hit on a regular basis. Every month.
Hours or all the time?
It'll be all the time because the barrier. It's because of the barriers and the sight lines. So it will have to be there all the time.
Then you'll see a lot of issues. So you'll see a lot of
Right.
Roundabout, we would jam up into the roundabout.
Yeah. I'll bring it back up with our traffic engineer. We ran this past Derek, who is Erica's manager, and it's one of those things. It's if it becomes too much of an issue, we can mitigate it at that point. But he didn't see it becoming too much of an issue.
It's not like on a weekend.
Right.
And everyone's parking here. Most of the time, I think they do that. Most people don't run here.
Right. So we can look at making adjustments like that. I mean, because I know there's going to be fence lining to help keep mitigate just the sight of everything. So I'm not sure if we can do anything with that or not, but we'll look into it. Any other thoughts or questions at this point? Yes, sir.
Just an infrastructure question.
Yeah.
Does this service this entire watershed? In other words, is all the sewage that comes from this is what gets over the hump into the
Yeah.
Mission watershed?
In a general sense, the collection system uses the natural topography to flow by gravity.
Here.
Right.
And so does, like all of State Street, etc., does that flow across the creek? Is that the pipe that's just at the other end of this? Like, where does it come across the creek
Flow
to get
across
on?
the creek.
Because like right now,
Yeah.
we're on this side of the
Is this
creek,
service area?
but there's a lot of State Street that's on the other side of the street, of,
Yeah,
of
the
the,
answer
of the
right.
creek. So does it cross the creek? Is there a pipe that
Yeah, the
crosses
answer
the
right.
creek?
Normally the way, Joaquin.
Oh.
Joaquin,
He has a general answer.
sorry, this guy was asking, citizen was asking, so can you describe the service area again?
Some
Vaguely.
Victoria Springs comes
Right.
this way, it goes down the west side,
Right.
and you're right there, if you look at the freeway, you see that big old stack, that goes back. So that goes across the freeway,
Right.
under the freeway, across the freeway also. Across the
Oh, it picks up.
And to answer your question in more of a general sense, at creek crossings, the sewer system predominantly goes underneath the creek through an inverted siphon, and that's a very robust system in order to allow continued flow in a way that separates it, right, and doesn't have limits the probability of interacting with the creek itself. So depending on where we have those creek crossings up higher in the watershed, that's normally the way we cross them. And then ultimately we try to stay as far away from the creeks as possible. But other than that, please feel free to continue walking around. We can continue to answer questions. Have some cookies and some tea, please. Otherwise, I have to take it home. Yeah, please, and sign in and take one of my cards, please, if you have any other questions. But thank you very much for all coming out.
Thank you.